Then we will move into item 5, reports. And first off is recognition of staff and students.
I'm actually Marlon Mee, who cannot be with us tonight. Unfortunately, he had to go take care of some family matters with his mother. So I will be reading his report that I just received about 5 minutes ago. Dear Tomah School Board members, the high school administration would like to recognize the following students and staff members. Karen Riggs for organizing the student poll volunteers for the November 2nd, 2010 elections. The student poll workers were Holly Rice, Avery Robertson, Elizabeth Tessman, Angie M., Kara Meltison, Cassie Lund, and Erica Deming. Colleen Toltzman will also be presenting.
Good evening, I'm Colleen Toltzman. I'm a high school English teacher as well as the academic decathlon advisor, and I come with good news. Our academic decathlon team has advanced from our local competition and we're moving on to regionals, which is January 7th. So I have here tonight 4 of my decathletes, so if I could call them forward to receive a certificate from myself, Marlon, and the State Academic Decathlon Director. So Brittany Westerman, Chelsea Westerman, Brianna Alden, and Tom Godfrey. And as you probably could tell, they are sporting some of our shirts that we had made. The theme this year for Academic Decathlon was the Great Depression, hence the frowning face on their shirt. These students have worked extremely hard. They have taken on the task of studying a binder that is about 4 inches thick, full of information on the Great Depression, as well as reading a novel, The Grapes of Wrath. So outside of their schoolwork, they spend 3 hours a week with me, and then I don't know how much time they spend studying outside of class, but outside of our meetings, but quite a bit, seeing as we have advanced. And I have a few other students that I'd like to mention that couldn't be here. Hillary Byram, Stephen Deming, Nick LeMay, Annie Jerob, and John Jones were also part of our team, but they could not be here tonight. So, thank you.
Congratulations.
Excellent. In addition, the high school administration would also like to recognize Deb Schrader for all her time and effort and energy and organization for putting together the sophomore testing this year. Deb does an outstanding job with the test each year, and obviously it's a valuable asset. We'd also like to recognize Jeff Adams for the organizing of all the freshman career exploration field trips during the sophomore testing. Jeff arranged for the students to attend 6 industries in Tomah. It was the first time we've ever attempted to do this, something like this during testing, and Jeff did an excellent job. The following high school clubs and organizations, along with their advisors who made holiday cards for the soldiers serving in Iraq and Afghanistan, was Miss Jessica Boris and DECA, Miss Amy Pedretti and the International Club, Mr. Brian Kibbe and the Graphics Arts class, and Miss Bonnie Rascovius and her Crossroads students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Fox.
You see the pictures behind you here. There's a few staff members and groups I'd like to take time just to recognize. This is from our science club. Mr. Ewers, Mr. Johnson, on past 2 Fridays here in November, had the opportunity to go to the public library and go ahead and help do some community service projects. I know that last month I had shared with you what each of our teams are doing, but it's not just our teams, but some of our clubs are doing some of the community service projects as well. And I hope each month be able to share with you some of the great things they're doing in the community to help our students go ahead and become more connected with the community, but also have the opportunity to have that service learning chances as well. Also like to thank Mrs. Horman and Mrs. Anderson. I know that Debbie had the opportunity to go ahead and attend our Veterans Day Assembly, and I think it was a great opportunity not only for our students to be able to see some of the veterans in our community, but also for our community members to come in and feel a little more connected with their school. So it was kudos to Mrs. Horman and Mrs. Anderson for really putting that together. They did a great job. Lastly, I'd like to go ahead and say thank you to Mrs. Shattuck and Mrs. Bolin. They were 2 individuals from the middle school that were awarded a grant through Donors Choose. If you're familiar, I see some heads nodding, so you're familiar with what that is. They did a great job of going out and looking for other avenues to go ahead and get some of the pieces of equipment to help their students through the classrooms where financial times are tight. They did a great job with, I'll say, jumping through the hoops that they have. In essence, they have to write a grant of why they're going to use the equipment they're asking for and how they plan to implement that. Afterwards, they get the opportunity to take some pictures of their students using the things that they were awarded, and the students naturally get a chance to write a thank you letter. Just so you know what they actually received, Mrs. Shattuck received some write-on answer boards and dice with dry erase markers, MP3 player, and a speaker system. And that was about $450 worth of equipment. Mrs. Bullen had 10 flash drives, and she'll actually be able to use those with students that can't afford to actually purchase them themselves. So she could actually have those to be loaned. 4 cyber-safe board games. In essence, what that is it's a gaming type of a tool where students can learn how to go ahead and be on the internet and explore those things safely. Make sure they're making great choices. That was about $700 worth of things. So kudos to them for going out and doing that themselves. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Buss. That was all very, very good.
I'd also like to recognize those staff members. I received a phone call this week from a parent, Amber Smith, who's new to our community, and she just said that she has been incredibly impressed with the Toma School District, and she wanted to recognize 2 staff who she feels have really made a difference. One is Tammy Hughes, one of our middle school guidance counselors. Tammy actually taught a parent workshop on bullying, I believe through Families First. And the mom said this has just made an incredible difference in giving her tools to talk with her child about and in addressing issues that have come up at school. And then she also wanted to acknowledge Mrs. Gerke, who's an elementary teacher at LaGrange. And she just says as a parent that her child is in Mrs. Gerke's classroom, that Mrs. Gerke is just an outstanding teacher. She's been made to feel welcome and has been allowed to be assisting in the classroom. So she said, I'm so proud to be part of the Toma School District. So I thought that was a wonderful phone call, and I wanted to share that with you as well. So.
Thank you. It's great to get those good phone calls. Unfortunately, as a district superintendent now, you don't always get good phone calls, so it's wonderful. That's really good.